Hello, I'm Kristen Duke, and I'm delighted to participate as a speaker in the I Am Mom Summit this year. Last year, I was honored to be selected as a category winner, and I just love everything that they're doing here on this platform. Now, just a little bit about me. I'm married to my college sweetheart, and we have 4 fabulous children. Our 2 oldest are boys that are 18 and 20, and they have already launched out into the world, flown the coop, graduated, and are experimenting as life as adults. We still have 2 under our roof. Our girls are 15 and 12. Last summer, we moved from Austin, Texas after living there for 17 years, and we now live in Colorado amidst the beautiful mountains. I love the mountains, and I'm so delighted to be here. I have strived to share positivity in my online space for the past 10 years, and I've shifted my creative focus from time to time. And more recently, in the past 2 years, I have really honed in on the importance of loving and supporting our teenagers, in parenting teenagers. Now, a lot of parents are fearful. They're scared of the teen years, and I'm here to tell you it's not that scary. It doesn't have to be that scary. And really, how we perceive going into it and how we are parenting, if we are parenting out of fear, it's going to be scarier. If we're parenting out of hope, it will be more hopeful. Today, I'm going to share with you 3 of my best golden nuggets for how to parent your teenager. 1, how to connect. 2, how to have a better conversation. And 3, how to best respond no matter what it is that they throw at you. 2 years ago, I had what I call my lightning bolt moment. I have been sharing so many things in the online space. I focused on intentional parenting, but I had been talking to a really good friend, and through tears from both of us, she was telling me how frustrated, how disconnected she felt from her teenagers. And she said, "How do you do it? How do you have such a great relationship with your teenagers?" And I knew that I had that, and I felt grateful for that, but I really had to dig deep to see, what is it? What are the things that are important to do? What can I help parents do better? My heart went out to her and so many other parents that really want to have that relationship with their teenagers. And so I really wanted to figure out what it was. What is it? I asked myself, what is it? Why do I love teenagers so much? Because I do love them. And sometimes I jokingly say I'd prefer to be in a room full of teenagers than a room full of adults. They have such goodness, such purity, and they're still trying to figure things out in life. So I really wanted parents to be able to jump into my own headspace, to experience what I had felt, to be able to better love and understand and support our teenagers. So that has really turned into my whole focus in my online space. And really it revolves around these 3 things, these 3 nuggets that I'm going to be talking about today. But first, I want to talk to the parents of preteens. If you have a preteen, if you're here and you don't have a teenager, I applaud you. I'm so glad that you're here, because so much of what you're doing in the preteen stage is building a foundation for the relationship that you will have in your in your kids' teen years. I define preteen as 8 to 12. Now, this is a precious time period in life. Our preteens really can get away with us ignoring them. And oftentimes we breathe the sigh of relief. We're no longer having to worry about their physical safety. They know how to look both ways when they cross the street. They understand a lot of things. So it's easy to ignore. And sometimes it can be a challenging phase for parents, because preteens, you know what? They're a little bit awkward. They talk a lot. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, but I want to encourage you, do not ignore the preteen phase. If you can connect with your preteen, if you can build that foundation, it will help you so much more in the teen years. And besides that, when you're in the preteen phase, if you can pre-parent, that's something that I talk about a lot, is planning ahead or thinking ahead. What would I do in this situation? How would I respond to this situation? Pre-parenting is basically having the ideas in your head about what you would do in any given situation. And in my online space, we talk a lot about hot topics. We talk about dating, we talk about pornography, we talk about mental health, all of the kind of scary topics. And while we're talking about it, I'm encouraging everybody out in the community to pre-parent. How would you respond if this were your child? And what I love about the community and the space that we've built is that people feel safe to share their stories, and I'm honored to be able to be a part of their stories. They'll share with me in DM, and I'll hide their names, and then I'll reshare their story to help others learn and grow and benefit from each other's stories without having to attach a name to it, without having to make it too personal. And I love that about our community, that we can discuss the hot topics and learn from each other. And that's what I really strongly encourage, whether you're in the pre-parent phase or whether you're currently in the trenches of parenting teenagers. If we can think and plan on all of the hot topics, how we're going to respond, it will better help us when we get to the point of needing to respond. All right, let's dig into the golden nuggets. First off, what I hear most from parents about any topic anywhere is this: I want my teens to come to me when they are scared, angry, upset, hurt, confused, all of these things, whether it comes from a heartbreak, whether it comes from stumbling across something inappropriate. So many parents say, I want my kids to come to me. I want them to feel that I'm a safe place. And guess what? I've cracked the code. Well, at least in my mind, I've cracked the code. What is the best thing to do in order to encourage your kids to come to you is to connect, to build connection. And this word, I built a course all around it because it goes into so many different facets about connection. But what I really think is important is for parents to better understand how to connect with each of your own kids individually. It's like the love languages. We all have different languages or ways that speak to us as connection. I, back in the day, used to think connection was talking. I'm a talker. I'm a chatter. And I have kids that are not. And I remember being frustrated when, especially my oldest, when he was 12 or 13 years old, I tried to talk with him. I tried to connect through conversation, and it just was not, it was not his connecting love language. And I really had to learn what that was. And you know what I learned? He loves video games. He loves soccer and being outdoors. And what I had to do was step into his world to connect in the way that is best for him and not for what I thought was best in the way of connection. When we are connected to our teens, when we listen to understand, when we validate their emotions, we are showing them we are on their side no matter what. Even when we don't agree, especially when we don't agree. When we disagree with their behavior, when we disagree with their way of thinking, when we disagree with how they're doing school, the way we connect says so much about how they will respond to us. And that's our next topic that we're going to discuss. When you are truly connected, you are that safe place for your teenagers. You have built that foundation of trust that they can say, I know I can go to my parents because they've proven themselves in the past. They've proven that they care about me by the way that they're reaching out and connected to me. They've proven that I can trust them by the way that they've responded to me from other past experiences. So that's my first golden nugget, is to figure out how to best connect with each of your children individually. So second is conversation. It's funny because I just talked about how I have a child that does not like to have conversation, but conversation is so important. It's important to discuss hot topics. And I truly believe that the more we normalize uncomfortable conversation, the more they become more comfortable with it, and that they will be more willing to come and talk to you in the future because they've thought to themselves, I know what my parents think about this. I know we've had this discussion before and I want to ask them these questions. I want to tell them these things. And so conversation really is important, but there's different ways that we can do it depending on our different kids. There are so many life wisdom nuggets that we have to impart on our kids. Am I right? If only they would just listen. It's hard to know the best time or the best place to bring up certain topics. And so what I like to do as we discuss hot topics online, I like to say, hey, discuss this with your kids at family dinner. Now, this is my question. Are you having family dinner? I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to encourage you. If you are not having family dinner 2 or 3 times a week, can you find a way to pencil that into your schedule and do that? It is so important for so many reasons, but conversation is one of them. One of the best ways that I can get all of my kids to talk is over family dinner, is discussing a topic and say, hey, I discussed this, or I saw this article, or I was talking to a friend about this. I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. By bringing up these types of conversation in a family setting, it feels more of a safe place than if it's just a one-on-one. Now, gone are the days of the one and done conversations of talking about sex, talking about pornography. Normalize the conversation by talking about it regularly. And I'm not saying every day, because honestly, my kids are like, here we go again. Mom's talking about pornography. But they say it in such a joking way because it is a normalized conversation. They are saying the words that honestly, it used to be uncomfortable for me to say, sex and pornography and all of those things, but I've become more comfortable with it because I wanted to push through it. It was important enough for me to have those conversations with my kids. I'm comfortable with it. Now they're comfortable with it. Normalizing those uncomfortable words makes it more comfortable to have those conversations in the future. As an example, in my online space this past month, we've talked all about mental health. I really think it's important to talk about mental health to help parents understand exactly what it means. I am someone that I have not experienced mental health challenges, though I have experienced people in my life that had them. As we talk about it and as people share their stories on Instagram, I'm able to reshare their stories, and other parents are able to get an insight into possibility of what their own kids might be going through. And I really love that, because I'll then bring it up with my kids, and we'll bring it up over dinner or even in a car ride. And I'll say, hey, we talked about this and I heard this story about this. What do you think about it? Or do you know any friends? Or have you ever experienced anything like this? When we can bring up conversation in those types of ways, it's less pressure. We're not blatantly asking our kids, do you feel like you have depression? Do you feel like you have anxiety? But we're bringing it up in a way of, oh, I heard this story. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about this. Have you ever experienced this? And it makes it a lot more of a low-key conversation for our kids and a lot less pressure. There are some really hard topics, and parents are going through some really challenging things. And I think the more we conversate with each other as parents, the more we become comfortable and learn other people's stories, the more we can bring that conversation into our family life, discuss with our teenagers, and better help them. By letting them know that we're a safe place to talk about all of these things is hopefully a way to connect with them, and that they can know indefinitely we are a safe place no matter what they want to talk about. And I actually created some conversation cards that you can find on my website. Send me a message if you want to learn more about them, but they're conversation cards that help bring up topics to consider and suggestions and scenarios about one way that one could respond. Now, talking about responding, it's my golden nugget number 3. How we respond to our preteens, to our teens in any given situation will tell them whether or not we are a safe place. One of the biggest stumbling blocks I see with parents of teenagers is how they respond whenever their teen messes up or make a mistake. So think about this. How do you respond when your kid rolls their eyes? How do you respond when they slam a door at you? How do you respond when they lie to you? How do you respond when they do something that you know you've taught them and they did against your counsel? It's frustrating. It feels personal. But what we need to do is take the personal out of it. If you could step into their shoes, if you could remember what it's like to be a teenager for just a second, remember how hard it is. They're figuring out, they're testing their boundaries, and we need to give them a safe place to make mistakes. We need to give them an opportunity to roll their eyes, to slam the door, and to even lie and say, you know what? I don't like that. I don't appreciate how you responded to me, and I'd like to see better next time. We don't have to freak out. We don't have to blow our gaskets or scream and yell. And I know that that's often an initial response. So I say this saying, I'm not perfect at this either. I'm still working on it, but I have been working on it for a number of years. It starts with not yelling, if we can control our emotions and not yell. And it starts with recognizing that they are learning and growing, that we have light years ahead of them. We've figured out some things. They're still figuring it out, but how we respond tells them whether or not you are a safe place. It tells them whether or not you're connecting with them in the conversation. All of those things work together to let them know, have you built a foundation of trust, or are you somebody that they can't trust because of how you're responding to any given situation? Don't freak out. I recently got a message on Instagram. I shared a picture of my girls and they were hugging, and it was a cute little moment that they shared. And of course I'm going to share positivity. I'm not going to share about the screaming bites. I'm not going to share about the frustration, because A, it's not okay for my girls, because they wouldn't be okay with that. And B, I don't like painting that negative picture. But at the same time, I appreciated when somebody said that I love that you share positivity in teens, but I have to ask, do you ever get attitude with kids, or have you found a way to actually parent and not experience that? And I said, absolutely, it's unavoidable. Our kids are learning and growing, and they've got hormones and they're figuring it out, and they're trying to figure out how to be themselves. And home is their safe place. Home is where they're going to unleash with a parent that they know loves them and is connected to them, is unfortunately where it feels safe to unravel a little bit as well, intentionally or unintentionally. You will get pushback. You will get attitude. You will get your feelings hurt by how they treat you. But if you can tell yourself it's not personal, it's not about you, it's about them, hopefully you can brush that off. And like I said, it's not easy. It takes a lot of mindfulness. It takes a lot of pre-parenting. Like I said, right now decide, how are you going to respond the next time your teenager rolls their eyes at you? How are you going to respond the next time they slam the door? How are you going to respond next time they lie? I want you to decide right now how you're going to respond. And it's by not freaking out, because when you freak out, it teaches them that you are untrustworthy, and they're going to be scared to come to you in the future. what I like to encourage others to do is to write down the positive interactions. When you have them, it's like a gratitude journal. Write down, oh, I had this great experience with my teen today. Oh, she did this. Oh, she hugged me. Write down those positive things so when and if those negative things come around, you can say, okay, I know she loves me. I know this, I know that because of what's happened in the past. And if you're not feeling that, if you are in a fractured relationship with your teenager, I encourage you to have a sit down conversation with them and say, listen, I want to do better. Help me know what I can do better. I apologize for XYZ that's happened in the past. Let's start over. Let's build anew. I can promise you that when you apologize to a teenager, it goes a long way. And if you're in a place where they won't listen or they don't want to hear anything that you have to say, I encourage you to write a letter. When you write a letter, you can write out your thoughts, you can say positive things, you can erase and rewrite, and you can present it to them and they can read it over and over. A letter is a really great way to connect with your teenagers and let them know the things you notice about them, the things that you appreciate them, the things that you see that they're doing good, because a lot of times their self-worth is in shambles. They don't know that they're doing a good job. They don't know that they have value, and they need to hear it from their parents, from those who love them the most. So those are my 3 golden nuggets: how to connect, how to have a conversation, and how to respond to your teenagers in any given situation. I am so grateful that you were here today to chat with me. I would love for you to join me at Kristen Duke Chats on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, and I like to send out a weekly newsletter. I actually have a freebie for you today. It's one of my favorite ebooks, 10 intentional ways to bring your family closer together. And you can click the link in the little sidebar here, download it, read it. Maybe you can implement some things into your family little by little. Don't try and do all of the things at once. But what I hope you can take away from me today is to pre-parent how you're going to respond, to think about connection, to think about conversation. They all 3 work together to help build that foundation of trust and build that foundation with your teenager that we all long for. I've also got a connection course that breaks down lots of different ways to better connect with your teens, because some people really need that breakdown. It's open once a month, and if you're interested in joining it, send me a message. Little by little, it will come. I hope you'll reach out to me and introduce yourself to me, because I wish that I could talk and interact with you here. I'm just chatting with you today, but share with me about yourself, about your teenagers, and tell me some of your challenges, and I would love to incorporate that into some of the things that I share in the future. Thanks for coming to the I Am Mom Summit. I hope you'll enjoy some of the other talks as well.